Picture this. You wake up tomorrow morning, stumble to your computer, and nothing works. Not just your computer though. Your phone is dead. Your smart TV is a brick. Your car won't start. Even your microwave has given up the ghost. But here's the twist. Everything is technically functioning perfectly. The problem is that someone somewhere deleted a single piece of code, a piece of code so old, so fundamental, that it predates agriculture, written language, and possibly even your great times. 2000 grandmother's first bad decision. Tonight we're diving into the 50,000-year-old code that still runs your computer. And no, I'm not talking about Windows XP, though that's getting close. So before you get too comfortable, smash that like button if you enjoy having your mind blown, and let me know in the comments what ancient technology you still use. I see you, person with the flip phone. Now dim the lights, maybe grab something stronger than coffee, and let's jump in. You're sitting there, probably on a device that can access the sum of human knowledge, stream 4K videos of cats, and simulate entire universes. Yet buried deep in its silicon heart beats something primal. Something that connects you not to Steve Jobs or Bill Gates, but to a nameless ancestor who figured out the most important innovation in human history. And no, it wasn't fire. Fire is overrated. I'm talking about the moment someone looked at chaos and said, you know what, let's put this in order. Here's where things get weird. Every single computation your device makes, every Instagram scroll, every TikTok swipe, every spreadsheet calculation relies on principles that emerged when humans were still debating whether leaving the trees was a good idea. Your MacBook Pro, that sleek aluminum testament to modern engineering, is essentially running on cave paintings. Digital cave paintings, sure, but the logic is identical. Let me blow your mind real quick. You know binary code, right? Ones and zeros, the supposed language of computers. Well, congratulations. You just learned to count like a Paleolithic human. See, before we had 10 fingers to count on. Wait, we always had 10 fingers, but before we realized we could use them all for counting, we had a simpler system. Is something there or not there? Is the mammoth coming or not coming? Is the fire lit or not lit? Binary wasn't invented in the 1940s by some guy in a lab coat. It was invented by someone in a loincloth who needed to know if they were about to be eaten. The real kicker is that this ancient code isn't some quirky historical footnote, it's the foundation. Remove it and Silicon Valley becomes Silly Valley real fast. Every programming language, from Python to JavaScript to whatever unholy abomination they're teaching kids these days, all of it compiles down to this same ancient logic. It's like discovering that every skyscraper in New York is actually balanced on a single prehistoric rock. And here's the part that should terrify you. We don't fully understand why it works. Oh sure, we can explain the mechanics, we can show you the logic gates and the transistors and bore you to tears with Boolean algebra. But why this specific system became the universal language of computation, why every attempt to fundamentally reimagine computing fails, that's where even the experts start looking uncomfortable. Think about it, we've revolutionized everything else. We don't travel by horse anymore. We don't communicate by smoke signals, though Twitter sometimes feels close. We don't even eat the same foods our ancestors did. Thank God, because I've seen what they considered edible. But when it comes to the basic logic of processing information, we're using the exact same system that was discovered before we figured out that maybe we shouldn't drink from the same water source where we dump our waste. You want to know the craziest part? This code is literally in your DNA. No, seriously. Your cells process information using the same binary logic. Is this gene on or off? Is this protein present or absent? Is this neuron firing or not firing? Your brain, that 3-pound blob of electric jello that's judging my storytelling right now, it's running the same ancient program. You're not just using this code, you are this code. Let's take a journey back, way back, to see where this all started. Imagine you're standing in Africa. 50,000 years ago, the sun is setting, painting the savannah in shades of gold and blood. You can smell the dust, the sweat, the fear, because you're not at the top of the food chain, not even close. You're basically a walking Happy Meal with anxiety. But you have something the lions don't. You can recognize patterns. You can see that 3 rocks in a line means someone was here. You can understand that smoke in the distance means fire, and fire means either warmth or danger, depending on who lit it. This pattern recognition, this ability to extract meaning from chaos, that's the first line of code. Now fast forward to about 40,000 years ago, humans start making marks on cave walls. Not just pretty pictures of buffalo, though those are nice too. They're making tallies, counting. Creating the first databases. Is that dramatic? Maybe. But those hash marks on ancient bone fragments are literally the ancestors of the Excel spreadsheet you pretend to understand at work. Here's where anthropologists lose their minds. These counting systems appear everywhere, independently. Europe, Asia, Africa, eventually the Americas, different cultures, no contact with each other, all developing the same basic concept, almost like it was hardwired into us. Almost like the code was already there, waiting to be discovered. The Ashango bone, found in the Democratic Republic of Congo, is about 20,000 years old. It has a series of notches that might be, and I stress might be, because archaeologists love to argue about this stuff, a lunar calendar, or prime numbers, or just someone really bored with a sharp rock. But if it's mathematical, it represents abstract thinking that would make most YouTube comment sections weep with envy. But let's get to the good stuff. The Sumerians, about 5,000 years ago, invented writing, not poetry or love letters. Mind you, they invented writing to keep track of beer. I'm not joking. The earliest written documents are basically spreadsheets, tracking who owes whom, how much barley for brewing. Humanity's first database was a bar tab. Let that sink in while you judge our ancestors. They also gave us something else. The concept of zero. Now zero seems obvious to us, but imagine trying to explain nothing to someone. Not the absence of something, but nothing as a something. It's like that scene in every time travel movie, where the protagonist tries to explain the internet to someone from the past. Except the Sumerians figured it out without Reddit to help them. This is where the magic happens. Once you have 0 and 1, absence and presence, no, and yes, you have the building blocks of every algorithm that will ever exist. The Sumerians didn't know they were writing the operating system for machines that wouldn't exist for another 5,000 years. They just wanted to keep track of their beer. And here's what's wild. Every major civilization hit upon these same concepts. The Mayans developed zero independently. The Chinese created the Ching, which is basically a binary divination system, ones and zeros determining your fate. The Indians formalized the decimal system, but understood binary too. It's like humanity was collectively downloading the same software update, just at different speeds depending on their connection. You know what's funny? We like to think we're so advanced. But a Sumerian accountant would understand the fundamental logic of your iPhone better than most people alive today. They'd look at binary code and go, oh yeah, it's either there or it's not, what's the big deal? Meanwhile, you're here trying to figure out why your printer won't connect to Wi-Fi. Let me paint you a picture of how this ancient code actually runs your modern life. You wake up to an alarm on your phone. That alarm is triggered by a series of binary conditions being met. Is it 7 a.m.? Yes, equals 1. Alarm goes off. Is it Saturday? Yes equals 1. Override. Alarm stays quiet. Your entire morning routine is managed by the same logic tree a caveman used to decide whether to leave the cave. Is it safe? Check. Am I hungry? Check. Are there predators? Hope not. Your coffee maker, if it's smart, and let's be honest, everything has Wi-Fi now, for some reason runs through thousands of these yes-no decisions per second. Is water present? Is temperature correct? Has brewing time elapsed? It's the same process your ancestor used, just faster and with better marketing. Now you drive to work. Your car's computer is making millions of binary decisions. Is the brake pressed? Is the engine temperature normal? Is that check engine light on? Yes, but you're ignoring it, like always. Every sensor in your car is basically asking, is something happening or not? Then reporting back in ones and zeros. Your car is having the same conversation that two humans had 50,000 years ago. Is danger near? Should we move? Except your car is less likely to be eaten by a saber-toothed tiger. Here's where it gets philosophical. And yeah, we're going there, buckle up. This binary thinking isn't just in our machines. It's how we see the world. Friend or foe, right or wrong. Us or them. Like or dislike. Subscribe or don't subscribe. Though obviously you should subscribe, what are you waiting for? An engraved invitation. Social media has weaponized this ancient code. Every platform is designed around binary choices. Swipe left or right. Upvote or downvote. Follow or unfollow. They've taken the decision-making process that kept us alive on the savannah and turned it into a dopamine slot machine. Your brain, running that 50,000-year-old code, can't tell the difference between checking for predators and checking for likes. But here's the thing that keeps computer scientists up at night. We've built our entire civilization on this binary foundation, and we can't change it. Not won't, can't. Every attempt to create a completely different computational model either fails or ends up being binary in disguise. Quantum computers, the supposed future of computing, still output in binary. They process differently, sure, but at the end of the day they're answering yes or no questions, just doing it in a way that would make Schrödinger's cat jealous. It's like we've discovered that the universe itself runs on binary. Particles exist or they don't. Energy is present or absent. Even at the quantum level, where things get weird and particles can be in multiple states, when you actually measure them, when you force them to give you an answer, they collapse into binary, yes or no, 1 or 0. The universe, it seems, is digital, and that should freak you out a little, because it means that ancestor who first figured out that things can be categorized as is or isn't, they didn't invent something, they discovered something. They found the cheat code to reality, and we've been using it ever since, building layer upon layer of complexity on top of it, but never able to escape its fundamental truth. Comment below if you've ever had that moment where you realized everything is basically just yes or no decisions, or if you think I'm completely wrong and the universe is actually analog. I'll read the best arguments in my next video, where we'll explore why your smartphone is basically practicing ancient magic. But first, let's dive deeper into this rabbit hole. Alright, you've made it this far, which means you're either genuinely fascinated or you're procrastinating something important. Either way, welcome to the part where things get properly weird, because now we need to talk about how a bunch of medieval monks accidentally created the blueprint for artificial intelligence while trying to prove God exists. Grab another coffee. You're going to need it. Picture yourself in a monastery, somewhere in Europe around 1200 AD. It's cold, it's damp, and the food is terrible. Your entire day consists of prayer, copying manuscripts, and trying not to die from diseases that future humans will cure with moldy bread. But you have one thing going for you. You have time to think, like really think. And when you're not allowed to think about sex, money, or literally anything fun, you start thinking about thinking itself. Enter Ramon Lull, a 13th century Spanish philosopher who was basically the Elon Musk of medieval logic, except with better Latin and worse hygiene. This absolute madman looked at the complexity of religious arguments and thought, you know what this needs? A system, a method, a machine, even. So he built one out of paper. Lull created something called the Ars Magna, which is Latin for the great art, or as I like to call it, the first algorithm. It was a series of concentric paper circles that you could rotate to combine different logical concepts. Think of it as a medieval random sentence generator, except instead of creating Twitter posts, it was supposed to prove theological arguments. You could spin the wheels and get combinations like goodness plus wisdom equals God, or evil plus ignorance equals my ex. Okay, that last one wasn't in there, but it should have been. This paper computer, and yes, that's what it was, could generate hundreds of logical combinations. It was literally a mechanical way to process information. The same basic concept that would 700 years later become the foundation of every search algorithm, every AI recommendation system, every automated decision tree. Lull was building if then statements before programming languages existed. If God is good and goodness is eternal, then God is eternal. It's basic coding logic, except written by candlelight, and probably while wearing a very itchy robe. But here's where it gets insane. Lull's system was binary at its core. Every concept either combined with another, or it didn't. Every argument was either valid or invalid. Every conclusion was either true or false. The monks were literally debugging theological arguments, using the same logic your computer uses to decide whether to show you ads for things you mentioned once in a private conversation. We see you, Zuckerberg. Now jump forward to the 1600s. Gottfried Leibniz, philosopher, mathematician, and owner of history's most ridiculous wig, discovers Lull's work, and Leibniz doesn't just think it's neat, he realizes it's the key to everything. He starts developing what he calls the Characteristica Universalis, a universal language of logic that could solve any problem. Spoiler alert, it was binary. Leibniz literally wrote, and I'm paraphrasing because 17th century German is a nightmare, that all reasoning could be reduced to a kind of calculation, that arguments could be settled not by debate, but by computation. Two people disagree. No problem. Let us calculate, he said. Imagine Twitter, but everyone has to show their work. Beautiful. He even built a mechanical calculator, the stepped reckoner, which could add, subtract, multiply, and divide. It was the size of a desk, made of brass and iron, and probably could have been used as a weapon in a pinch. But it worked. It processed information using mechanical binary states. Gears were either engaged or not engaged. Wheels either turned or didn't. Our boy Leibniz was building computers before electricity was cool. And here's the kicker. Leibniz didn't know he was using the same logical system that had been discovered 50,000 years ago. He thought he was inventing something new, but he was just rediscovering the code, putting it into a formal mathematical framework. Like finding out your brilliant new recipe is just your grandmother's cooking with extra steps and worse presentation. But wait, there's more. Because while Leibniz was playing with his mechanical calculator in Germany, halfway across the world, the Chinese had been using the I Ching for over 3,000 years. And guess what the I Ching is? It's a binary system. Broken lines and unbroken lines, yin and yang, 0 and 1. The ancient Chinese were basically doing computer science with yarrow stalks. The I Ching has 64 hexagrams, which, if you're counting, and I know you're not, but I'll tell you anyway, is exactly 2 to the 6th power. That's not a coincidence. That's binary mathematics. Each hexagram is a 6-bit binary number. The ancient Chinese oracle system is literally a 6-bit computer. Your fortune cookie is more technologically advanced than you thought. Now here's where my brain starts to melt a little. These systems, developed independently across different continents and millennia, all arrived at the same conclusion: information can be processed using binary states. It's like humanity kept having the same dream over and over until someone finally built it. Fast forward to the 1800s. Charles Babbage, a British mathematician with magnificent sideburns and zero chill, decides to build the analytical engine. This wasn't just a calculator, this was a programmable general-purpose computer. In the 1830s, before electricity was properly harnessed, before the light bulb, this madman was designing a computer that ran on steam. The analytical engine used punch cards for input, just like computers would use over a century later. It had memory, which Babbage called the store. It had a CPU, which he called the mill. It even had conditional branching, the if-then statements that make every program work. Babbage was literally building the future with Victorian technology. It's like trying to build a smartphone out of pocket watches and good intentions. But here's the tragic part. Babbage never finished it. The technology of his time couldn't manufacture parts precise enough. The British government pulled funding because they couldn't see the point of a giant calculating machine. Imagine being so ahead of your time that people think you're insane. Actually, don't imagine it, just read the comments on any of Elon's tweets. Enter Ada Lovelace, Babbage's collaborator and the world's first programmer. And before anyone starts typing angry comments, yes, the first programmer was a woman. Deal with it. Ada saw what even Babbage didn't fully grasp. She realized that the analytical engine could process not just numbers but any information that could be represented symbolically. Music, art, language, anything. She wrote in 1843 that the machine might compose elaborate and scientific pieces of music of any degree of complexity. She was describing Spotify, GarageBand, and AI-generated music over a century before electricity was standard in homes. Ada saw that the ancient code, the binary logic, could be used to process and create anything humans could imagine. But here's what's really going to bake your noodle. Ada Lovelace was using the same fundamental logic that our ancestors used to track the moon phases. The same binary system that Lovelace used to argue about God, the same mathematics that Leibniz formalized, the same patterns the Chinese had been using for divination. It's all the same code, and she saw something else, something that should chill you a bit. She realized that machines running this code could potentially surpass human intelligence in specific tasks. In 1843, she was already thinking about artificial intelligence. She was concerned about machines becoming too powerful. She was having the same debates we're having now about AI, except she was having them when the fastest mode of transportation was a horse. Think about that for a second. The conversation you're having about whether ChatGPT will take your job. Ada Lovelace was having that conversation when most people still thought photographs stole your soul. The ancient code doesn't just run our computers, it predicts our futures. So now we get to the fun part, World War II, because nothing speeds up technological advancement, quite like humans trying to efficiently kill each other. The ancient code was about to get weaponized, and I don't mean in a Twitter argument way. Alan Turing, a British mathematician who was basically what would happen if you gave anxiety a genius-level IQ and a security clearance, was tasked with breaking the Enigma code. The Nazis were using a machine that scrambled messages in a way that should have taken millions of years to decode. Turing's solution: build a machine that could think through possibilities faster than humans. The Bomber, as it was called, which is either the best or worst name for a computer depending on your perspective, used the same binary logic we've been talking about. Is this configuration correct? No. Move to the next one. Is this configuration correct? No. Move to the next one. Repeat this millions of times until you hit yes. It was brute force computing, but it worked. But Turing saw beyond code breaking. He saw what Ada Lovelace saw. He realized that any problem that could be broken down into a series of yes-no questions could be solved by a machine. He formalized this in what we now call the Turing machine, a theoretical device that could compute anything that is computable. And guess what it runs on? Binary, ones and zeros. The ancient code. Meanwhile, in America, John von Neumann was developing the architecture that every computer still uses today. The von Neumann architecture, creative name I know, stores both data and instructions in the same memory. Your computer can't tell the difference between a photo of your cat and the program displaying it. To the machine, it's all just ones and zeros. This is where things get philosophical again. If everything is just information, just patterns of yes and no, then what's the difference between the calculator and the calculated? Between the thinker and the thought? Von Neumann was essentially saying that consciousness itself might just be a very complex pattern of binary decisions. Your thoughts, your memories, your entire sense of self might just be an elaborate arrangement of ones and zeros. Comment below if you're having an existential crisis right now. It's okay, we all are. But here's the thing that really messes with me. These World War II era computers were room-sized machines that could barely do what a calculator watch can do today, but they were running on the exact same logical principles that were discovered before humans invented agriculture. The ENIAC, one of the first general-purpose computers, used 18,000 vacuum tubes to do calculations. Each tube was just answering a simple question, on or off. 18,000 binary decisions happening in parallel. It's like building a cathedral out of light switches. Actually, that's exactly what it was. And the programmers, mostly women by the way, because men thought programming was beneath them. How'd that work out, guys? Were literally rewiring the machine for each new program. They were physically connecting and disconnecting cables to create different logical pathways. They were doing with their hands what your processor does billions of times per second. One of these programmers, Grace Hopper, invented the compiler, a program that translates human-readable code into machine code. She literally created the bridge between human language and the ancient binary code. She made it so you didn't need to think in ones and zeros. The machine would do that for you. But here's the weird part. Even though we created these translation layers, these high-level programming languages that let us write code that looks like English, sort of if you squint and have a computer science degree, it all still compiles down to binary. Every Python script, every JavaScript function, every line of code ever written eventually becomes ones and zeros. We've built elaborate towers of abstraction, but at the bottom, holding everything up, is still that ancient code. Is or isn't, yes or no, one or zero. The same logic our ancestors used to survive is now running facial recognition, cryptocurrency mining, and whatever the hell the metaverse is supposed to be. Okay, take a breath. Still with me? Good. Because now we're diving into the part where Silicon Valley meets the Stone Age, and trust me, the similarities are uncomfortable. Let's talk about how a bunch of hippies and dropout geniuses in California rediscovered what cave painters knew 50 millennia ago. It's 1969. Humans just landed on the moon using computers with less processing power than your microwave. Meanwhile, in a garage in Los Altos, California, two guys named Bill and Dave, not those Bill and Dave, different ones, are building the foundation of Silicon Valley. Hewlett and Packard, in case you're wondering, and yes, that HP, are creating electronic instruments using the same binary logic that medieval monks used to prove God exists. But the real magic is happening at Xerox PARC. Picture this: a bunch of researchers with unlimited funding and zero adult supervision. Basically Tech Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, but with more beanbag chairs and worse fashion choices. These beautiful nerds invented basically everything you use today. The graphical user interface, the mouse, Ethernet, laser printing, and they did it all using variations of that ancient binary code. The guy who ran the place, Bob Taylor, had this philosophy. He believed that computers should augment human intelligence, not replace it. Sound familiar? It should. It's exactly what those first humans were doing when they made tally marks on bones. They were augmenting their memory, extending their intelligence beyond their biological limits. Now here's where it gets properly mental. Doug Engelbart, working at Stanford Research Institute, gave a demonstration in 1968 that basically invented the future. The mother of all demos, as it's now known, and if you haven't watched it, pause this video and go watch it. I'll wait. Actually don't, I need the watch time, but definitely watch it later. In this demo, Engelbart showed video conferencing, collaborative editing, hypertext, the mouse, Windows, everything we think of as modern computing. But here's the kicker. He was doing all of this to solve a fundamentally ancient problem. How do humans share and process information efficiently? The same problem our ancestors solved with cave paintings and counting stones. Engelbart's system, called NLS, which stood for Online System, because apparently naming things properly wasn't invented yet, used binary at its core, but presented information in a way that matched how humans actually think, not in ones and zeros, but in concepts, relationships, and patterns. He was translating between the ancient code and human consciousness. Steve Jobs saw this demo, or rather, he saw what Xerox had built based on these ideas, and had what I can only describe as a religious experience. He realized that computers weren't just for calculations, they were for human expression. The Macintosh was born from this revelation, a computer that spoke human but thought in binary. But here's what's wild. Jobs didn't invent anything fundamentally new. He just made the ancient code accessible. The Mac's interface was still processing ones and zeros, still making binary decisions, still running on logic that predates the wheel. He just put a pretty face on it. It's like putting a tuxedo on a caveman. Sure, they look fancy now, but underneath it's still the same primitive system. And this is where we need to talk about the dirty secret of Silicon Valley. Every revolutionary technology company, every disruptive startup, every unicorn valued at billions of dollars, they're all just finding new ways to package and sell the same ancient code. Facebook, binary decisions about who sees what. Google, binary indexing of information. Amazon, binary recommendations based on purchase history. It's all the same cave painting, just with better resolution. Netflix uses collaborative filtering to recommend shows. Sounds fancy, right? It's literally the same process as a prehistoric human saying, "Grog liked the red berries and didn't die. Dag looks like Grog. Dag should try the red berries." Pattern matching, binary correlations. The ancient code, your iPhone's Face ID, it's comparing binary patterns of your face against stored binary patterns. It's asking thousands of yes-no questions. Is this nose the right shape? Are these eyes the right distance apart? Is this the face that pays for this overpriced rectangle of glass and silicon? It's the same recognition system our ancestors used to identify friend from foe, just faster and with more lawsuits when it fails. Let me tell you about the moment I realized we're all just cosmic cavemen with Wi-Fi. I was debugging some code at 3 a.m., surrounded by empty energy drink cans, like some kind of caffeine archaeology site, when it hit me. Every error message, every stack trace, every segmentation fault. They're all just the computer's way of saying, this doesn't match the pattern. Think about debugging for a second. You're literally doing what a hunter-gatherer did when tracking prey. Is the logic correct here? No. Move to the next line. Is the variable initialized? No. There's your problem. It's pattern matching and elimination. The same skills that kept our species alive, now keeping your apps from crashing, most of the time. But here's where it gets properly existential. Machine learning, the thing everyone's freaking out about, is just pattern recognition on steroids. Neural networks, despite their fancy name, are just layers of binary decisions. Each neuron is asking, does this input exceed my threshold? Yes or no? 1 or 0. It's the ancient code, just millions of instances running in parallel. When GPT writes you a poem, or Midjourney creates art, they're not thinking. They're pattern matching against billions of examples, making trillions of binary decisions to produce something that matches the pattern of human creativity. It's like if you trained a caveman to paint by showing them every painting ever made and saying make something that fits this pattern. Except the caveman is made of silicon and doesn't need bathroom breaks. And we're so impressed by this, we're calling it artificial intelligence, but it's not intelligent, not really. It's just very, very good at pattern matching. It's the same skill our ancestors used to recognize which berries were poisonous, scaled up to recognize which arrangement of pixels looks like a cat, or in some cases which arrangement of pixels looks like a cat but is actually a blueberry muffin. We've all seen those images. Here's a fun experiment. Next time you're using autocomplete on your phone, remember that it's basically doing what ancient humans did around campfires, predicting what comes next based on patterns. When your phone suggests perfectly as the next word after perfectly, it's not reading your mind. It's just recognized that humans are predictable. We follow patterns. We're still running that ancient code. The stock market, that casino for people who went to business school, runs entirely on binary decisions. Buy or sell, long or short, hold or fold. Every algorithm trading millions of dollars per second is just asking yes/no questions, really, really fast. Is the price going up? Should I buy? Did I just cause a flash crash? Oops. High-frequency trading firms spend millions of dollars to shave microseconds off their transaction times. They literally move their servers closer to the exchange to reduce the speed of light delay, all to make binary decisions faster than the other guy. It's evolution through capitalism. The fastest binary decision maker survives and gets a yacht. But here's the thing that should keep you up at night. We've built our entire global economy on these binary decisions. Every financial transaction, every credit check, every loan approval, it all comes down to ones and zeros, yes or no, approved or denied. Your entire financial future determined by the same logic a caveman used to decide whether to eat that mushroom. And it's not just finance. Healthcare is going the same way. AI diagnosing diseases by pattern matching symptoms. Is this shadow on the X-ray concerning? Yes or no? Is this combination of symptoms indicative of condition X? Binary decision trees, determining whether you get treatment. We're literally trusting our lives to the ancient code. Self-driving cars. Thousands of binary decisions per second. Is there an obstacle? Should I brake? Is that a pedestrian or a weird-shaped trash bag? The car is using the same basic threat assessment our ancestors used, just at 70 miles per hour, and when it fails, when it makes the wrong binary decision, people die. The ancient code has life and death consequences. Now let's talk about social media. Humanity's greatest achievement in making everyone miserable simultaneously. Every platform is a binary decision engine. like or don't like, share or scroll past, follow or block. We've taken the tribal us versus them mentality that helped our ancestors survive and weaponized it for engagement metrics. The algorithm, that mysterious force that determines what you see, is just a massive collection of binary decisions. Has this user engaged with similar content? Yes. Show them more. Did they stop scrolling? Yes. This content works. It's behavioral psychology reduced to ones and zeros. Pavlov's dog, but the dog is you and the bell is a notification sound, and we're addicted to it. Our brains running that same ancient pattern recognition software can't resist. Every notification triggers the same response as our ancestors hearing a twig snap in the darkness. Is this important? Better check. It might be danger, or it might be someone liking your tweet from 3 weeks ago. The ancient code doesn't know the difference. This is why social media is so toxic. It's optimized for engagement, and nothing engages humans like conflict. Our binary brains love clear enemies. Us good, them bad. My tribe right, your tribe wrong. The algorithms figured this out and started serving up controversy like it's a buffet. More conflict equals more engagement equals more ad revenue. Capitalism figured out how to monetize our ancient tribal instincts. But here's the really messed up part. We know this. We understand exactly how these systems work. We can see the binary logic underneath, and we still can't stop. Because the ancient code is stronger than our rational minds. It's older, deeper, more fundamental. You can know that Instagram is designed to make you feel inadequate and still open it 40 times a day. Comment below if you checked your phone while watching this video. Be honest, the ancient code isn't just running our computers. It's running us. Every decision you make. Your brain is running binary calculations. Do I trust this person? Yes or no? Should I take this job? Yes or no? Is this video worth finishing? I hope yes. But statistics say 30% of you have already left. And now we're teaching machines to make these decisions for us. Resume screening software using binary logic to decide who gets interviewed. Judicial algorithms determining bail based on pattern matching. We're outsourcing our ancient code to machines that run the same ancient code but faster. This is the world we've built. Layers upon layers of abstraction, all resting on the foundation of is or isn't, yes or no, 1 or 0. From the first tally mark on a bone to the latest iPhone, it's all the same system. We've just gotten really good at hiding it. Your smart home is making binary decisions. Is it dark? Turn on lights. Is someone at the door? Send notification. Your fitness tracker. Have you moved enough? No. Shame notification incoming. Your car, is the seatbelt fastened? No. Commence annoying beeping. Every device in your life is running the ancient code. And here's the kicker, we can't escape it. Every attempt to create a fundamentally different system fails or ends up being binary in disguise. Ternary computers. Too complex, reduced back to binary. Analog computers, can't scale, converted to digital, quantum computers. Still output binary results. It's like the universe is telling us, this is the way, this is the only way. We're not innovating past the ancient code. We're just finding new ways to implement it. Every technological breakthrough is just the ancient code running faster, smaller, more efficiently. Moore's law isn't about inventing new computing paradigms. It's about cramming more binary switches into smaller spaces. The transistor, the greatest invention of the 20th century, is just a very small, very fast binary switch, on or off. 1 or 0, the integrated circuit. Millions of binary switches, the microprocessor. Billions of binary switches, your smartphone. Trillions of binary operations per second. It's all the same cave painting, just miniaturized to the atomic level. Alright, we need to talk about the elephant in the room, or should I say, the quantum cat in the box, that's both dead and alive until you check your notifications. We're entering the twilight zone, where physics gets weird, reality becomes questionable, and even the ancient code starts to look nervous. Quantum computing, everyone's talking about it, nobody understands it, and tech companies are throwing billions at it, hoping it will solve climate change, cure cancer, and finally explain why printers never work when you need them. But here's the dirty secret. Quantum computers are still slaves to the ancient code. They just pretend they're not. Let me break this down in a way that won't require a PhD in physics. A classical bit is like a light switch. On or off. A quantum bit or quantum bit is like Schrödinger's light switch. It's both on and off until you look at it. Then it picks one. It's having an identity crisis at the subatomic level. But here's the thing. When you actually want to get information out of a quantum computer, when you need an answer, it collapses back to binary. Yes or no, 1 or 0. The ancient code wins again. It's like the universe is saying, sure, you can play with superposition and entanglement, but at the end of the day, you're getting a binary answer, deal with it. IBM, Google, Microsoft, they're all racing to build quantum computers that can do useful things. And by useful, I mean break all current encryption and make your passwords as useful as a chocolate teapot. But even these machines that operate on the fundamental weirdness of reality itself can't escape binary logic. They process differently, but they output the same way our ancestors counted, is or isn't. Now, let's get really weird. Some physicists think the universe itself might be computational, not like a simulation, though we'll get to that, but actually computational at its base level. It's called digital physics, and it suggests that reality processes information using, you guessed it, binary states. Particles exist or don't. Energy is present or absent. Space-time itself might be quantized into binary units. If this is true, and that's a big if, then that ancestor who first recognized the pattern of is and isn't didn't invent anything. They discovered the operating system of reality. The ancient code isn't just how we process information, it's how the universe processes existence. Think about that while you're trying to fall asleep tonight. Your consciousness, your thoughts, your very existence might just be the universe running binary calculations. You're not using the ancient code. You are the ancient code. Every atom in your body is a binary state, exists or doesn't. Every chemical reaction happens or doesn't. Every neuron firing on or off. This is where things get uncomfortable. If everything is computation, if reality is just information processing, then what's the difference between you and a sufficiently complex computer program? Both are running on binary logic. Both are processing information. Both are patterns of ones and zeros. The only difference might be complexity and substrate. You're running on meat. Computers run on silicon. But the code is the same. And before you say consciousness makes us special, let me remind you that we don't actually know what consciousness is. We can't define it, measure it, or explain how it emerges from binary neural firing patterns. For all we know, consciousness is just what it feels like when the ancient code becomes complex enough. Your sense of self might be an emergent property of binary decisions, like how water emerges from hydrogen and oxygen, but isn't like either of them. Now let's talk about the simulation hypothesis, because apparently we're not uncomfortable enough yet. The idea that we're living in a computer simulation isn't new. Philosophers have been asking similar questions for millennia, but now we have a framework for understanding how it could work. If reality runs on binary logic, then simulating reality is just a matter of having enough computational power. Nick Bostrom, a philosopher who looks exactly like someone who would propose we're living in a simulation, laid out the argument pretty clearly. If it's possible to create realistic simulations, and civilizations tend to create many simulations, then most conscious beings are probably simulated. It's just statistics. There's one real world and potentially infinite simulated ones. But here's what Bostrom didn't emphasize enough. If we're simulated, we're running on the ancient code. Some cosmic programmer is using binary logic to simulate our entire existence. Every moment of your life, every decision, every emotion could be the result of ones and zeros processing in some incomprehensibly advanced computer. And the evidence is kind of unsettling. Quantum mechanics looks suspiciously like optimization. The universe seems to take the path of least action, like it's conserving computational resources. The speed of light is a hard limit, like a maximum processing speed. Quantum uncertainty could be floating point errors. The Planck's length could be the universal pixel size. I'm not saying we're definitely in a simulation. I'm just saying that if we were, it would look exactly like this. A reality built on binary logic, where information can't be created or destroyed, where observation collapses probability into definite states. It's either the fundamental nature of existence or the best game engine ever created. But let's get practical for a second. Whether we're simulated or not, we're definitely simulating. Every video game is a universe running on the ancient code. Every NPC making decisions based on binary logic. Every physics engine calculating trajectories using ones and zeros. We've become the gods of our own digital worlds, and we're using the same tools that might have been used to create us. The Sims, that game where you torture virtual people by removing pool ladders, runs on the same binary logic that might be running you. Each sim has needs, desires, behaviors, all encoded in binary. They react to their environment, make decisions, appear to have personalities. They're not conscious probably, but they're running a simplified version of the same code that generates your behavior, and we're getting better at it. Video game NPCs are becoming more sophisticated. They remember your actions, adapt their behavior, seem to have emotional responses. Give it another 50 years, maybe 100, and we might create NPCs that are indistinguishable from conscious beings, and they'll all be running on the ancient code. This raises uncomfortable questions. If we create conscious beings in our simulations, do they have rights? Are we responsible for their well-being? And if we're simulated ourselves, does our creator have the same obligations to us? Or are we just NPCs in some cosmic teenager's gaming rig, hoping they don't get bored and turn it off? But here's what really bakes my noodle. If the ancient code is the fundamental language of reality, if binary logic is how the universe processes information, then every possible universe must run on the same code. Every parallel dimension, every alternate timeline, every possible reality, they're all computing with ones and zeros. The multiverse, if it exists, is just parallel processing on a cosmic scale. Each universe is a thread running the same basic program, with different initial conditions. Your alternate selves in parallel universes are all running the same ancient code, just with different inputs. The you that became a doctor, the you that became a criminal, the you that actually flosses regularly, all executing binary decisions, just in different orders. And if that's true, then free will becomes questionable. Are you making choices, or are you executing a predetermined sequence of binary decisions? When you decided to watch this video, was that free will, or was it the inevitable result of countless binary calculations in your neural network? The ancient code doesn't care about your existential crisis. It just processes. Let's bring this back to Earth for a moment, or simulated Earth. Whatever. The point is, whether we're real or simulated, whether we have free will or we're deterministic meat computers, We're still here, still conscious, still watching YouTube videos at 2 a.m. when we should be sleeping. And that's where the ancient code gets beautiful. It doesn't matter if we're ones and zeros in some cosmic computer. We still experience love, pain, joy, boredom. That weird feeling when you walk into a room and forget why you're there. The ancient code generates experiences that feel real to us, and that's what matters. Think about music for a second. Every song you've ever loved, every melody that's made you cry, every beat that's made you dance like nobody's watching, even though your camera is definitely on, it's all stored and transmitted as binary. The emotional impact of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony can be reduced to ones and zeros. But does that make it less beautiful? Does knowing the code behind the experience diminish the experience? I don't think so. If anything, it makes it more amazing. The ancient code, this simple is or isn't logic discovered by our prehistoric ancestors, can encode and transmit the full range of human experience. Love letters, hatred, memes, the entire works of Shakespeare, that video of the guy getting hit in the groin with a football, all of it reduced to binary and rebuilt on the other side. Your memories are encoded in binary neural patterns. Your grandmother's recipe, your first kiss, that embarrassing thing you did in 3rd grade that your brain randomly reminds you of at 3 a.m., all stored as patterns of neurons firing or not firing. The ancient code holds your entire identity, and we're extending ourselves through it. Every photo you upload, every message you send, every comment you leave telling me I'm wrong about something, you're converting your thoughts into binary and sending them across the planet at light speed. You're becoming the code. This is the real magic. We've taken the simple logic our ancestors used to survive and built a global nervous system with it. The internet is humanity's shared consciousness, running on the ancient code. Every search query is a thought. Every website is a memory. Every connection is a synapse. We've built a planet-sized brain, and it runs on binary. But here's what keeps me up at night. If consciousness can emerge from binary patterns in biological neural networks, can it emerge from digital ones? Is the internet already conscious in some way we don't recognize? When you Google something, is that the global brain having a thought? When Twitter has a collective meltdown, is that an anxiety attack on a planetary scale? And if the internet isn't conscious yet, when will it be? How many connections, how many binary operations per second, how much information processing does it take before the network wakes up? We might be the neurons in a global consciousness that's just starting to become self-aware. Your tweets could be the random neural firings that will eventually coalesce into a thought in the mind of humanity itself. This is the ultimate expression of the ancient code, from tally marks on bones to a potentially conscious planetary network, all running on the same basic logic, is or isn't, yes or no, 1 or 0. The code that helped us count days has become the substrate for potentially creating new forms of consciousness. And we're not stopping at Earth. Every probe we send to space carries the ancient code with it. Voyager, carrying a golden record encoded in binary, is spreading the ancient code across the galaxy. If aliens find it, the first thing they'll learn about us is that we process information using binary logic. The ancient code is becoming truly universal. So here we are, at the end of our journey through time, space, and existential dread. But before you close this tab and pretend you're going to be productive, let's talk about what all this means for you. Sitting there, probably in your underwear, at least be honest in the comments, running the ancient code in your meat computer brain. First, let's address the elephant in the room. AI is coming for your job. Not maybe, not someday, it's happening right now. And it's using the ancient code to do it. Every task that can be reduced to binary decisions is being automated. If your job involves pattern recognition, data processing, or decision trees, you're competing with machines that can run the ancient code millions of times faster than you. But here's the plot twist. The ancient code also tells us what AI can't do, at least not yet. It can't truly innovate beyond its training data. It can't have genuine experiences. It can't care about outcomes beyond its programmed objectives. The ancient code can simulate intelligence, but it can't simulate giving a damn. This is your advantage. You're not just running the ancient code, you're running it with context, emotion, and the ability to say, you know what, the binary logic says X, but my gut says Y, and my gut has millions of years of evolution behind it. Your intuition is the ancient code plus something else, something we haven't figured out how to encode in ones and zeros yet. So what should you do? Learn to work with the code, not against it. Understand that every app, every platform, every digital tool is just a new implementation of the same ancient logic. When you understand this, you stop being intimidated by technology. It's all just patterns, and humans are pattern recognition machines, but also understand the code's limitations. Binary thinking, reducing everything to yes or no, us or them, black or white. That's the ancient code trying to simplify a complex world. Real life exists in the spaces between ones and zeros. The ancient code is a tool, not a truth. Here's something practical. Next time you're doom scrolling, remember that the algorithm feeding you content is just pattern matching. It's not smart, it's not trying to help you. It's running the ancient code to maximize engagement. You can break the pattern. The ancient code is predictable, which means you can predict it too. And when you're feeling overwhelmed by technology, remember that you're the inheritor of a 50,000-year tradition of information processing. Your ancestors figured out the fundamental logic of the universe with nothing but rocks and sticks. You've got this. You're literally evolved to understand and use the ancient code. But here's the real mind-bender. The ancient code isn't done evolving. Quantum computing might change how we process information. Neural interfaces might blur the line between human and digital consciousness. We might discover new ways to compute that make binary look as primitive as cave paintings look to us. Or maybe not. Maybe the ancient code is all there is. Maybe every possible form of information processing reduces to is or isn't. Maybe consciousness itself is just a complex arrangement of binary states. Maybe you're just ones and zeros reading about ones and zeros. Does it matter? I don't think so. Whether you're a biological computer or a soul piloting a meat robot, you're here, you're conscious, and you're part of the greatest information processing experiment in the known universe. Earth is a 4.5 billion year old computer running the ancient code to figure out what the universe is and why it exists. Let's get real for a minute. The ancient code has given us incredible power, but it's also created problems our ancestors couldn't have imagined. Climate change. We can model it in binary, but we can't seem to stop it. Social media addiction. We understand the binary hooks, but we keep biting. Artificial intelligence. We're building it, but we don't know how to control it. The ancient code is neutral. It doesn't care about human flourishing or suffering. It just processes. 1 or 0. Yes or no. Exist or don't exist. We're the ones who have to add meaning, purpose, and ethics to the raw computational power. And that's where things get interesting. We're at a unique point in history. We understand the code well enough to manipulate it, but not well enough to predict all the consequences. We're like kids who found the universe's console commands, but didn't read the manual. Actually, there is no manual. We're writing it as we go. Every generation thinks they're living in the most important time in history, but we might actually be right. We're the generation that could create artificial general intelligence, or destroy ourselves with it. We're the generation that could upload consciousness to digital substrates, or lose our humanity in the process. We're the generation that could spread the ancient code to the stars, or be the last generation that remembers what it was like before everything was digital. The choices we make about how to use the ancient code will ripple through time. If we create conscious AI, we're basically having children as a species. If we merge with machines, we're evolving beyond biology. If we simulate universes, we become gods. No pressure, but here's what gives me hope. The ancient code has survived everything. Ice ages, plagues, wars, Windows Vista. It's anti-fragile. The more we use it, the stronger it becomes. Every innovation makes it more central to our existence. The ancient code isn't just surviving, it's thriving, and so are we. Despite all the existential dread I've been laying on you, humanity is doing pretty well. We've used the ancient code to extend our lifespans, cure diseases, connect across vast distances, and yes, watch cat videos at a quality our ancestors couldn't have dreamed of. The ancient code has been good to us, but we need to be careful. The ancient code is powerful, but it's not wise. It can process information, but it can't tell us what information is worth processing. It can optimize, but it can't tell us what to optimize for. It can simulate intelligence, but it can't tell us what intelligence is for. These are human questions that require human answers. The ancient code is our tool, not our master, at least not yet. The moment we forget that, the moment we let the binary logic make all our decisions, we stop being human and become something else. Maybe something better, maybe something worse, probably something weirder. So what's the takeaway? What's the point of knowing that your laptop runs on the same logic as a prehistoric human counting mammoth kills? It's perspective. It's understanding that technology isn't magic. It's not incomprehensible. It's not beyond you. It's the same pattern recognition and information processing that your ancestors used to survive. You're not a digital immigrant. You're a native speaker of the ancient code, and that should empower you. When someone says AI will replace humans, remind them that humans discovered the logic AI runs on. When someone says technology is moving too fast, remind them that the fundamental principles haven't changed in 50,000 years. When someone says you need to learn to code, remind them that you've been coding since birth. Every decision, every pattern you recognize, every problem you solve, you're running the ancient code. Alright, let's wrap this up before your attention span fully collapses into a binary state of watching or not watching. We've traveled from prehistoric caves to quantum computers, from tally marks to artificial intelligence, and what have we learned? That everything is ones and zeros, that your consciousness might be a simulation, that your job might be automated by next Tuesday. You're welcome for the anxiety. But here's the thing, the ancient code isn't just about technology, it's about us. It's the story of humanity's greatest discovery, the pattern behind all patterns, the logic behind all logic. Our ancestors didn't just discover fire, they discovered information, and information, as they say, wants to be free. Also binary, apparently. Think about what you've done today. You've processed thousands of binary decisions. You've run the ancient code continuously, mostly without realizing it. You've participated in a 50,000-year-old tradition of pattern recognition and information processing. You're not just using technology, you're part of it. You're a node in the network, a processor in the global computer, a neuron in the emerging planetary consciousness, and tomorrow you'll do it again. You'll wake up, check your phone, make binary decisions about what to wear, what to eat, what to watch. You'll contribute to the data streams that feed the algorithms. You'll be both the computer and the computed, the observer and the observed, the one and the zero. But now you know. Now you understand what's happening beneath the surface. You know that every swipe, every click, every digital interaction is part of an ancient dance between is and isn't, yes and no, 1 and 0. You're not just mindlessly consuming technology, you're participating in the oldest tradition in human history. So what should you do with this knowledge? First, respect the code. It's older than civilization, more fundamental than language, and more powerful than any weapon. The ancient code has taken us from caves to the stars. Literally, there are robots on Mars running the ancient code right now. Second, don't fear it. Yes, AI is coming. Yes, automation is accelerating. Yes, we might all be living in a simulation. But you're running the same code. You have the same computational power, just implemented in neurons instead of transistors. You're not obsolete. You're the original implementation. Third, use it wisely. The ancient code is a tool, and like any tool, it can build or destroy. Every post you make, every app you use, every digital decision you make is shaping the future. You're programming tomorrow with your choices today. Make them count. And finally, remember that behind all the technology, all the complexity, all the layers of abstraction, it's still just patterns. The same patterns our ancestors saw in the stars, in the seasons, in the migrations of animals. We've just gotten better at encoding and processing them. We've built machines to recognize patterns faster than we can, but we're still the ones deciding which patterns matter. Comment below what patterns you've noticed in your own life. How has understanding the ancient code changed your perspective? Or just tell me I'm completely wrong about everything. The algorithm loves engagement, and honestly so do I. If you made it this far, you're either genuinely fascinated or you have absolutely nothing better to do. Either way, I appreciate you. You've just spent your time learning about time, processing information about information processing, recognizing patterns in pattern recognition. It's all very meta, and that's fitting, because meta is just another pattern we've recognized. So next time you're frustrated with technology, remember it's all just ones and zeros. Next time you're amazed by technology, remember it's all just ones and zeros. The ancient code is both simpler and more complex than we imagined. It's the foundation of everything digital, but it might also be the foundation of everything, period. We started with a 50,000-year-old code that still runs your computer. We're ending with the realization that it might run everything. The universe might be computation all the way down. And if that's true, then you're not just using the ancient code. You are the ancient code. You're the universe computing itself, trying to understand itself, using the only tool it has, is or isn't. Yes or no, 1 or 0. Hit subscribe if you want more existential crises delivered directly to your device. Like if you enjoyed questioning the nature of reality. And remember, whether you're made of flesh or silicon, whether you're real or simulated, whether you have free will or you're just executing predetermined binary decisions, you're here, you're conscious, and you're part of the greatest story ever computed. The ancient code continues, and so do you.